Hello and welcome to this Big Brother 11 reunion. Now, this was the final series on Channel 4, and in this episode, we have some great housemates from the series. And stay tuned because right at the end of this, we have a one-on-one interview with JJ that unfortunately couldn't make the reunion. Don't forget to come back on Monday to watch the Big Brother 12 reunion. And if you've missed any episodes whatsoever, please see the link below and catch up on them. And if you did enjoy this, please like, comment and subscribe. I'd be really grateful, and thank you so much for the support that you've shown to all the shows. So hello and welcome back to this special edition. It's the last of the Channel 4 reunions that we're doing for Big Brother 11. And it's been amazing who we've got on. We're getting more people joining throughout the show. But let's say hello to Keely. How are you?
Hello, yeah, good, thank you.
And we've got Sunshine.
Hello.
Hello. And we've got Iffy.
Hi.
I've got to give a big shout out to John James. So I don't think anyone in my 10 years of interviewing has woke up at 4:30 in the morning where they are to take part. So I'm really grateful. So hi, John James.
It's dedication. It's dedication.
How are you?
Good, mate. You?
Yeah, good, thank you. And we got Rachel.
Hi,
Hello.
everyone. So nice to see you all.
And it wouldn't be a Big Brother 11 reunion without Shabby, who's got her signature look today as well. We got the hat. How are you?
I'm real happy with that. I'm real happy with that. That's better than the 4 a.m. wake up. I'll get on it.
It's nice to see everyone, and well done, John James, for getting up.
Well done for you for wearing the same hat, and I'm not convinced it's not the same one.
10 years.
What, is that literally the same hat from 10 years ago?
No, it isn't. No, my hat.
It's a replica hat. That's how famous that hat got. We made replicas from it. We got merchandise.
What happened to the hat? The original? People, when you're on tour, sometimes steal your belongings. So they say that you can come and visit them in their country, and then you can get it back then. So it disappeared. So then I got another one in Scotland. So I was like,
So it's been 10 years since you guys were in the house together, and we all thought as a fans it was the last show of Big Brother. I mean, you guys did as well. So going in there with the idea that it was going to be the end of this legendary show, how did that feel for you? Because a lot of people were watching, the viewership was really high. So for you, Keely, what was kind of your thoughts going in there, knowing it was going to be the last one?
Do you know what? It wasn't about being on the last one. It was just being on Big Brother. It was just so exciting. And even now, like 10 years on, and I think about that. I was only on for like 2 weeks, but it's still so exciting to me. It was great. I remember when we and Rach, because we went in afterwards, like as an in-plan. I remember that day, Rachel. It was just amazing, wasn't it?
It was so good. And it was strange because we'd been watching everybody before we went in. So we had a kind of idea of like who we would get on with and what it was going to be like. And I just remember we landed in the garden and these were all like this on the windows, like, yeah! And we just ran in the house, and I just remember the smell, and it was like a campsite. It was like a campsite. I'm thinking,
Wow.
oh my God, we're in a proper TV show here. It was proper like studios, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like we literally, they landed us in a garden in a spaceship, which was a shed on.
Oh, it was so cool. It was amazing.
You know, you said then that you went in there and obviously you had watched everyone else and you kind of had an idea on who you'd get on with. I've always been intrigued. Did that change for you? Because you only see an hour of a 24-hour day, you know, so you don't get to see everything. So did you kind of have an opinion on someone, but actually when you met them, it changed?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes you just naturally have got chemistry with people. But when you're watching it, you do feel like you know everyone. But you actually don't know everyone until you're in there, and then you see who you click with more than others. Not that I didn't get on with anyone, but some people you click with, don't you? Me and Shabby were in a group together. Leading up to the audition.
We'd have got on very well.
I know, it was because it was all undercover, wasn't it? When we went in, we were actually in the studios for 3 days before all of us together. Me and Shabby was in the same group.
Yeah.
All like,
There you go.
We had like groups of 5, yeah. Like
I do want to say
24
hello to Sunshine as well, because you were a great housemate in there. So for you, what was it about the show that made you kind of want to take part in it?
the whole of kind of since Big Brother existed, everybody I met was just like, you could totally get on that show. And I was doing a journalism degree in London, and I thought, well, do you know what, this will make a really good story, going through the audition process and then just writing about it. But they just kept calling and calling, and just then it ended up, you know, that we didn't know until, you know, there was like the final 100 and we were stood there, and I was just like, well, I still don't know if I could get on or not. So I was kind of, one of my friends was like, just go in there for like 24 hours. So I kind of just wanted to see if I could get in there, basically, and then I ended up in there.
And a great housemate you were too. And so Iffy, well, we'll go back to Iffy. She looks like she's in a conversation. Are you there?
Yeah, I am. I was just...
So for you, I mean, what was it about? Because you went in there, you were a great character. You always voiced your opinion. You never stepped away. So for you, what was it about the show that you liked? And were you kind of glad that you went in there?
Yeah, well, I really liked the show because my parents used to watch it all the time. And I remember one day trying to get my mum's attention, and she wasn't listening to me. She was staring at Nikki Graham going, who is she? Who is she? I'm going to go into the show. And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm going to get in. And I just got a secret movie and read the book, and I was like all about the law of attraction. So I just said, I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to go in. And then I kept believing I was going to go in, to the point where when I was on the stage, I was really nervous because I was thinking, oh my God, if I don't go in, it's going to be so embarrassing. Everyone's going to know that I've wanted to get in, and I haven't. This will be all over everywhere, like, huh? So I was like, okay. And then when Big Brother said, Big Brother chooses you, I was just like, amazing. The secret works. It works. Amazing. I'm going to change my life. And, you know, I didn't have a game plan at all, but I didn't realise how much of a... I didn't realise how actually I don't like living with people. Like, I realised how maybe extra I am, because I never knew I was a character who was so particular. I was like maybe crying because it was dirty or something. I was obsessed, wasn't I? I didn't know that about me until I went in there. So.
And then we've got John James as well. I've got to say, you were a big talking point in that show, because obviously you had your relationship with Josie, but the magazines just loved you. I mean, I remember, because I was in college at the time, and then every magazine, like, you know, in college when you're a young lad, you're trying to look good, feel good, and then you've got John James on the front page of magazines, ripped like anything. Yep. And then, so you're probably one of the, in regards to hunks of the shows, one of the most legendary. So when you went in there, did you love getting
legendary? It's a big status.
When you went in there, did you know that you were going to kind of have that attention from the females who watched the show?
To be fair, like, I actually didn't. I thought that I knew that I was going in there and it would be hard to sort of replicate my character just because of where I was from. I was hitting sunbeds 24/7 at that age. I was like, I think they wanted to put me in there as that stereotypical, like, home and away kind of look. And I did know that, so I'd be lying if I said I didn't know that. But what the reaction was going to be with me being in there, I was actually, like, pretty nervous just because of where I was from and the people, like the housemates that they picked, like I couldn't, like, if I could go in any Big Brother, I would go back into that Big Brother, because like all you guys were like so interesting, and I think it was just the best, like, cast that you could have had for a show. So I think, and how they would adapt to me or how they would have been taken by me, I wasn't too sure, to be honest.
And that was a great thing about you. I can always remember you would always be interested in other people's stories. Like, you would take time to ask questions.
I actually genuinely was fascinated, like, by like, I could tell you something about every single housemate that I still remember to this day, that I probably still think about it to this day. Like, every single person I had like a connection with in some sort of way, not always positive, I guess, but no, I was actually fascinated by everyone's, like, where they come from or where they lived, or because it was all different to me. So Australia's housemates are very stereotypical. I felt that when you watch the show, it was pretty obvious who they're going to pick, but our series in particular was just that everyone was from different parts, different stories, different backgrounds, all that sort of thing. So yeah, for me, that was the best part of the show for me.
What was that?
It kind of went back to, like, you know, the ordinary people that used to go in the first season. I feel like that it did it more towards, you know, this is the last one, let's put a whole range of different people in.
Yeah, and then for some reason, like, I think that there was obviously arguments, and Shabby had her moments, and I'm not really joking.
You had your moments.
I'm only joking. I'm just thinking. I remember the hat going into the hut. I remember you kicking off. For some reason, that's coming back to me. So, like, that sort of stuff. That made the show for me. Like, that made the show for me. Like, that was, like, when I think about, like, iconic things that happened in that show, that was, yeah, you couldn't have got a better cast.
I mean, like, you mentioned Shabby then, and Shabby, I mean, when you mention this series to people, a lot of people remember you because you were really entertaining. I think you were full of passion, but you always said it as it was. I never felt you were ever fake in that house. So what were your kind of experiences in going in Big Brother? When you went in, were you nervous to start with? Were you happy with the people that were in the house?
Actually, I'll be honest, I had a very similar plan to Sunshine. I was like, dude, if I get in there, I'm gonna do 24 hours and then be like, peace, bye, like, I'm outie. But then and there was really hot girls in there, so I was like, hey, so I'll just say for that. And, you know, getting to sit on a wall dressed like an egg, I always remember that, and I don't know if that ever ends, but, like, that will always, like, having eggs thrown in my face.
Do you know why that didn't air? Because I'm allergic to eggs, and it was the worst idea ever. And I think that they literally thought, like, basically they did this task where half dressed eggs and sat on a wall, and the other half were like soldiers and had to throw eggs at them to try and knock them off the wall. They were like, Sunshine, if you're allergic to eggs, so you get to be the queen, you dress up as the queen. And obviously it was mayhem, and there were just eggs flying everywhere, and I've got a severe egg allergy. They can literally kill me, and it was the worst idea ever. And then
I should have
as well. Like, that day was so hot, so, like, I was part of the group dressed as the egg, having eggs thrown in my face, and you just had all this congealed dried egg just everywhere, and you're sitting there for hours, and it was just excruciating. So there were many moments in there I was like, what has become of me? Like, how did my life lead to this? But honestly, I think I thought I was a bit too cool for school at that time. Like, oh, I'm a bit too cool for all of this, which, you know, when I came out of the house, my best friend kind of chose a few episodes for me to watch, and she was like, this is why some people loved you and some people really, really didn't. And that, more for me, like, that had such a big change in my life, because, you know, you can blame editing as much as you like, but there were a lot of things I watched and I'm like, no, that wasn't editing. That was me. That was really, really me. So it sent me on a really good path afterwards, actually. Like, I am so positive. I don't think I have kicked off or had a tantrum since 10 years ago.
That's disappointing as a fan.
I don't know. People who meet me now say, oh my God, you're just so, like, chilled out all the time. Like, really, like, I can't imagine anything ever pissing you off.
And so that didn't take you
10 years ago, Bibes.
Didn't take you out. That's great. Big Brother was like therapy for you.
It was really, because I definitely, like, I was very real. I was real to who I was at that time. But there was an element of, like, real bravado, which I kind of don't really, you know, it's not really part of my life anymore. So yeah, that's me.
Rachel, for you, what was it about the show that kind of stood out and made you want to take part in it?
I don't know, I've always been a bit cookie and gone for things, just go for it and then worry about it afterwards. But, like, just as what Shabby was saying, there's loads of moments where you just look at yourself and you go, what the hell happened? As it where we were dressed as spiders and you're fighting to stay in the task, and then you just get sucked in that bubble, aren't you? And it's really important to win the task, and then but you just get like a little click in your head and you think, what am I doing? I think as well, like Shabby was saying, she's like mellow. You've always been mellow. I think the line is, when you're dressed as an egg, getting eggs thrown at you. You can't get much worse than that in life. Do you know what I mean? Everything's sad now. Everything's cool. You know what I mean? Because when you're dressed as a spider and you're fighting for your life,
I literally fought for my life.
What else were we were like? Remember we were superheroes as well. Like,
oh, that's right. You got locked in there, yeah.
And where in life will you ever be under that pressure again? But dressed like, you know what I mean? But dressed like a dickhead. Everything's like cool now. Like,
were you in the series that had the Tree of Temptation?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
out of the cabinet, yeah.
What were your experiences? What did they ask? Did each of you have an experience with the Tree of Temptation in regards to that?
I got no secret tasks. I feel
Mario told me quite early on where that was, and he whispered it to me when we were in the same bed together. And yeah, that sounded weird, but yeah, among other things, I'm going to rat him out now because he's not on here, so I can say what I like. Yeah, and he told me where it was because he was the first one to obviously be involved with it because when he was the mole. So the Tree of Temptation was telling him all these tasks and he told me where it was. And I remember just going in the bathroom, just kicking it every now and then, just like wondering if it would talk to me. So I was trying really hard to work out what the deal was with it because I'd never heard of that before. That was like a UK Big Brother thing. That was never an Australian Big Brother thing. So I didn't really know what it was but yeah, but my experience was pretty crap. But I did have an experience with him. I got the crappiest star, so I had to lie to everyone and make up lies and say that like I can't even remember.
I completely believed them. Everyone always watch Rachel. She's got to fail the task.
Yeah. I think they'd put in so much effort to what I was going. Like the prize for me doing that task was to get a Skype call to my friends. And that was pretty early on in the series. So I was surprised they did that. I think we were only probably 4 weeks in or something like that. And it was my friend's engagement because he was getting married and I couldn't go. And I had a Skype call with them. And so I think they put in so much effort with my friends to get them all together to Skype, to buy them I think they had to pay for the camera and all that sort of stuff because I don't think technology was very good back then. And yeah, so they put in so much effort. So I don't think they could have any choice but to let me win the task anyway because they had all my friends waiting to Skype call me. So I don't think they could just hang up on them in Australia and be like, oh, John James has failed the task, sucked in, and then just hang up. Do you know what I mean?
A question I would like to ask kind of all of you, which is about nominations, and I'll start with Shabby and work up, is when you watch TV shows like this and you see people in the diary room and they're struggling to give nominations, when you're watching the show, you're kind of like, you know what you kind of expected to do that. You've watched every series, you know that nominations is a part of the show, but did you find it difficult? Like, what are your experiences with nominations, Shabby?
I didn't find it difficult at all. I knew exactly who I wanted to nominate every time. My only thing was I could have nominated more.
every day.
I was only in there 4 weeks before I walked out, and I think I pretty much did the same nominations. I think maybe Sunshine I nominated you once, sorry. But pretty much mine was Dave and Ben, Ben and Dave, Dave and Ben. Yeah. So for me, it was easy. No fooling.
John is the only one that didn't nominate me. I think I got the record for the most amount of nominations in the history of the show.
That is quite actually impressive.
And they were kind of behaving. And just I don't know, I just went in there at just like normal speed, I guess, and it just made me highlighted. So I went from something like 11 nominations out of 13 people that could have nominated me or something to then 2 in the week, which was
I'll be honest, it's probably due to the fact that you were the only person that got their own pizza, their own chips, their own everything. It probably had something to do with that. I'm going to be honest. They gave
all of you pizza and they gave me a salad.
There was one pepperoni pizza to share between 11 people, and then Sunshine just had her own. And then you ran to your bedroom and you hid chips under your pillow. Don't lie to me. I know you did.
That caused my nomination that got me evicted.
That's why Shabby nominated you that week. So you got no one else to blame but yourself.
Keely,
we wanted those chips and you weren't handing them over.
I didn't find it difficult at all. You kind of know, you know what's going on that week. You have someone in mind that's pissed you off. It's easy. It's quite easy. It's quite easy for me.
You look like you enjoy it, actually. I thought everyone would be like, oh, it's really difficult when you made friends, but everyone's got a smile. Like, you're all reminiscent about nominating. You're kind of like, yeah, I really enjoy it.
I hated going in that diary room.
I refused doing it.
But I didn't thinking of someone like.
First week was
Everyone
the
had to do
hardest.
it,
After
so.
that, it became easy. But like the first couple of weeks was hard. I feel.
Did you say you refused the first week to nominate?
Well, I tried to, but they threatened to boot me out if I didn't. So I sat in there for hours. I remember. Because at that point, you don't want to nominate because you're just sort of getting along with everyone, and the only person I can remember nominating was Rachel. And I think I'm the only person that did. I can't remember, but she went week 1. But I think she's the only person. But even her at that point, it was hard. It was extremely hard. I felt. Yeah, I think if you came in later on and you're watching people from the outside, I think that might have made it easier for like say Keely, and I think it made it easier for and Rachel like coming in later.
I thought
maybe
it was quite hard to nominate. I didn't.
Yeah, do you know what? I remember you struggling. To be honest, I actually do remember you struggling. I actually do remember.
The day was hard because we'd all be mates, and then it'd just be like elephant in the room. And the worst part was when you come out the diary room and you try not to make eye contact and sly, you're like that. And then you're trying to find. There's people who you want to nominate, but then you've got to find a reason that's not going to make you look like a tit on TV by saying it.
Yeah. Right. They took the chips.
And then sometimes you're just looking for reasons, aren't you, to like nominate, like the day before.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you had to give it, and it had to be a validated reason as well. It couldn't be just a crap reason.
The reasons were the hardest.
You'd be making up stuff.
Sometimes it wouldn't let you go. You had a good enough reason.
Yeah. It wasn't good enough for the show. wasn't going to get enough airtime.
What about Iffy? Did you find it difficult to nominate, or did you enjoy the kind of experience?
No, I didn't find it difficult. I voted for Dave most of the time. He just, I thought it was so full of it. So I just always did Dave, and then, even now, I told you so. I told you Dave wasn't a real monk. I told you, like.
He copped it on the outside after that, didn't he? I remember reading a few articles that day. Get him on here.
I wanted to say.
No, so
got a few words with him.
I think I even wanted to. I'm the type of person who wants to tell people that I've nominated. I'm so conscious of being two-faced.
That's how much you enjoyed it.
By the way, I didn't nominate you because I don't like you. I wanted to tell them.
I got in trouble for doing that thing where you go, "Don't worry, I didn't nominate you." I did that and got in trouble for that.
I got in trouble.
And that's giving away nomination. Yeah, that's right.
I feel bad asking you this, Sunshine, because I didn't realise you held that record. So nominations is obviously a bit of a tricky subject. So what are your thoughts on it? Because everyone seems to love you now. I don't think you'll get nominated again, but to have that record, is it something?
I think it was the first week in there. So I don't think it can be like, it's not really a big judgment, is it? It's just like your first impression is, that. But I don't know, we all knew what we were going in for with the show. You expect to be nominated, you expect to have to give nominations. It's not we're not murdering each other, it's just a game, isn't it? So
yeah.
That's very I believe that. It's convincing. There's no bad blood.
No, because sometimes hard, because one week I really loved her, the next week I couldn't. It was like it was so difficult. Then do you remember? I'd be like your best friend for an hour.
Really a kind of normal environment. Like the people I get on the best, like Jovan's probably the person I get on the best with since the show.
Jovan?
Yeah, I was thinking about him just before. Yeah.
Actually gets on with everyone. He seems to communicate with everyone, and actually me and him, the show, probably we got on the least out of everybody. So it's just a superficial environment, really. And I got on with great because we spent some time together after the show, and it's just you just wouldn't imagine the people you weren't really close.
Yeah.
And I would do want to very quickly bring up for John James, because the audience are obviously going to want to know. So obviously you and Josie were a big part of the show. So what do you keep in touch with Josie now? What's the relationship been like since leaving? Because the last thing we remember was Josie was in the Ultimate Big Brother, and then she had kind of some of the celebrities would say, John wasn't who he really was, and you had celebrities who kind of had that opinion on you, which must have been difficult because they weren't with you in the house. We only saw an hour each night of a full day.
Yeah. So what was the actual question? If I still have contact with Josie?
Yeah. Do you still keep in touch with Josie? And how do you feel about the celebrity?
It's I'll be honest. It's on pretty bad terms. I'll be honest. I won't say anything bad because she's not here to defend herself. But yeah, the relationship isn't great, you know. Like I've got utmost respect for her, and like nothing like we don't. It's not like a hatred thing, but we don't. If you put us in the same room together now, it would probably explode. Yeah.
And what was it like
To
for
put it
you
lightly.
to have celebrities and Big Brother legends that were going into the Ultimate series, and they were kind of saying that they felt that John wasn't being himself and he wasn't being very nice to you? What was that like? I'm not sure if you even watched it. Were you aware of some of those comments?
Do you know what? I met most of them at that particular rap party, and I remember Coolio, and I used to like Gangsta's Paradise, so I don't anymore though. But yeah, he probably denied this, but he tried to start me at the rap party and said that I wasn't respectful to Josie, and he had a proper go. I think me, yeah, at that point weighing 74 kilos, probably ran away, but yeah, he had a proper go. Yeah, he wasn't happy about it. So for me, that was like, whoa, like yeah, like yeah. They because I didn't really meet them. I didn't really know them. Like for someone in my house, like to have a go or say something, like you'd be like, yeah, well, you did live with me for 3 months, a month, so yeah, you know me pretty well, like 24/7. But for people who don't know you, who only watch the show, and then to have a go at you at a rap party, you're like, whoa. But Josie was a very liked person. Do you know what I mean? Inside and out. Ultimate Big Brother, she probably would have won if she had stayed. Our Big Brother, she obviously won with probably the biggest percentage ever. I think it is still. I might be wrong in saying that, but I remember it was the biggest percentage. Yeah, so she's a very liked character in Big Brother's history, really. So when you piss someone off like that, or you feel like you're not treating someone like people are going to turn against you.
And I always like asking this, and I've done it in most of the reunions that we've done, but for the other housemates on this call, in your opinion, living with the housemates that you did, was Josie a deserved winner? Do you look back and think, oh, I would have liked someone else?
No, Iffy, I'll let you start.
I'm going to cop some backlash in my head. So.
I house with John, James and Josie, obviously, so were we. But I found, I straight away just didn't like her that much, really, just because I met her outside and we were talking, and she was super smart and super into the same industry, entertainment. She was on an agency like me. And then we went in, I was like, who the hell are you? So I was like thinking, which one are you? And I just said straight away. Then everyone turned against me because I was like, nah. But then even to this day, in that house, I was like, I can tell when people are like acting. So
Josie is very, very intelligent. Let's just put it that way.
Super smart, but she tried to act like she wasn't. And I was like,
I could see through that, but then at the same time, I did find her quite comical. So I imagined, and she came
definitely. She had some of the best one-liners I've ever heard.
Yeah, the only thing I will say is that she didn't spend any time getting to know me whatsoever. I don't remember having any conversation with her, and I would have really liked that, but I don't know if. And John, you made a bit of an effort, but I felt like I was intruding too much to try and even speak to her. So I don't know.
It would have. Do you know what? To be fair, like it would have been really hard coming in, watching it back, and like watching how much I guess hype that our relationship got. It must have been hard coming into that situation and like trying to drag either one of us apart as well. Like because I can imagine how difficult that would have been, like to sort of get Josie on her own or even me on my own. And
definitely
maybe I was a little bit more aware of it because I think like towards the end, just before you hurt your ankle, Keely, I remember that me and you were like starting to like form a friendship, you know what I mean? And we started off quite badly, and I feel that like some of that probably was because of the relationship that I had with Josie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of all the people, I genuinely think that we would have got on really, really well, but I couldn't make that connection with you. And at first,
me and you have spoken like frequently, like you would have to say, like,
exactly.
Considering
so
outside of the house.
Had it been another time, we would have got on really well, but I couldn't make that connection with you. And Josie just didn't seem interested in speaking to me. I don't know about you, Rachel, how you found it.
Yeah, I got on quite well. I got on that well with Josie. But it was difficult when we went in there because you had cliques, and then with John James and Josie, you have to speak to Josie about John James or John James about Josie. You couldn't make your own friendship because it was like.
Have I got Shabby muted, or is she muted?
It's just muted, I think.
Yeah, just muted.
Okay.
So I would like to ask everyone. So I'm going to give you kind of 30 seconds or whatever it takes each to answer what was the standout favourite moment for you each, but what did you find the most difficult? So 2 questions. So I'll start off with Keely. What was the most standout moment, but also what was the toughest moment for you?
I've got 2 standout moments. Obviously going in with Rachel.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. But then also the superhero task. It was
oh wow.
fun ever. It was just amazing. So the superhero task, standout moment. I still absolutely love in our costumes, driving around in a little car. It was just brilliant. And then did you say the toughest thing?
Yeah, the toughest moment as well.
The toughest thing was breaking my leg and getting carried off the programme and the aftermath of that. But otherwise, I still have fond memories for it all.
And Sunshine, what about you? What was the standout kind of favourite highlight for you, but also the toughest?
2 things. They let me make the telephone video with the other Rachel when we were Beyonce and Lady Gaga, and that was amazing. Yeah. And my friends like show people that they're like, she was on Big Brother and she made the telephone video, and I'm going to show you now. But yeah, and also one day we all woke up and they'd made a puppet of all of us, and we had to puppets all day. That, and there was like on the pool, and like that's probably the only time where we were just all really happy and chilled out. So that was quite good.
Yeah,
and I guess
the puppet.
The saddest moment was probably just how the emotional toil of it. I remember Heat magazine said something like, "Oh, Sunshine, the first to blub, day 3." It's like day 1 actually. Just it is really hard in there, and I just go under the covers and have a bit, of time. Like it's emotionally really draining and hard, and yeah, it's a different psychological environment. So I'd never judge anyone for anything they said or did in there because of the environment we were in.
And Iffy, what about you? Your favourite moment and toughest moment?
Oh, I think I got kind of 2 favourite moments. One of the moments was being laughing, like the hardest I've ever laughed with Shabby and Kiva. I can't remember what we called ourselves, the 3 something, I can't remember. Just laughing, just so it hurt.
We were the Raggy Dolls, mate.
Raggy Dolls, and we were the dolls.
The Raggy Dolls.
I love that. So much fun. And I think the worst moment was when the doors opened and I could just hear boos and I felt physically sick, like, oh, my life is over. I think that was the hardest moment, hearing that everyone hates you, and like signs, like, that was like trauma. And when people say to me, what did it feel like? I was like, well, it felt like wearing tight shoes the whole time in the house. And then when coming out, the shoes being taken off, but then like being thrown bricks at your head. That's how I described it. So yeah, that was hard, but that was then.
And John James, what about you? What was the highlight for you, and also the toughest moment?
The highlight was probably when I got to leave the house with JJ and go to the racing track, because I think that was the first time that we were able to speak to people properly, like the producers, the cameramen, the people at the racetrack, and because for me, I hadn't been exposed to the public for that long, even though we were in hiding under a horse thing. For that was probably the best moment for me. And it was with JJ as well, and me and him were pretty close in the house. So, and he's my best friend at the time. So, yeah, I think that was definitely the on and off. Like, well, as much as you can. Like, do you know what I mean? By Instagram, I messaged him just before, so he must have been held up. And he couldn't make the chat. But yeah, for me, that was definitely the best moment. But I had so many in there. Like, it'd be like, yeah, I was thinking about him just then, and I was trying to think. Like, there's so many memories that I have from that show. So.
And what was the toughest moment?
I was going to say walking out to the booze, but I think yeah, it is hard, like walking out to that situation. But I think the one that I regret the most, which is probably the worst moment for me, was when Rachel, other Rachel, came back into the house, and the way I held myself. It was edited really badly, but like Shabby said, you can't blame the editing, and like they didn't show the whole conversation, but the way I held myself in that situation was not. I'm pretty like disappointed in the way that I handled that situation. I think they knew exactly how I was going to go in, how I was going to address the situation. I did exactly, pretty much just fell into everybody's hands, and just typical arrogant John James walked in there, thought he was the big shot, give it the big one, said some things that I definitely shouldn't have said. And for me, that was definitely the most regrettable moment for me.
And Rachel, what about for yourself, the highlight and the hardest moment?
Oh, there's so many highlights you wouldn't believe. Definitely going in. The tasks were funny, but not funny when you're doing them. And there was one task where we all had to pretend nothing was going on, and Big Brother would just send in all kinds. You know, do you remember that one, John James?
Ignore the obvious, yeah.
Ignore the obvious. That task was like belly laugh. There's not many times that in your life where you can say, you know what, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now. And sometimes in Big Brother, I had that, where I would just sit in the garden and be like, oh my God, I'm in Big Brother. I wouldn't want to. You couldn't even pay me to be anywhere else. So
yeah, such a good way to say that.
Yeah.
And then really hard for me when it came out, because coming home and then coming back to my little one-bedroom flat and just silence and watching everyone on the TV and really missing everyone and wishing that I was still part of it. And also, I couldn't find any excitement in the things that used to excite me, like going out and getting pissed or whatever. Nothing seemed to excite me for a while, because that was so exciting. So that was pretty hard, but yeah, I absolutely loved my time in there. I'm so grateful.
And Shabby, what about for you? What was the highlight and what was the toughest moment?
Am I allowed 2 highlights?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. So one would be the tasks in general. I loved them. Like, I loved the task. The 2 standouts for me while I was in there was the what is it called? Vuzavula, the things we had to blow on for like
I was going to bring that up, Jay. I remember you in that task. You were a soldier. You nailed that task.
Oh, I loved it. And also the wheelchair basketball task we did. I failed miserably, but I loved being able to see how things work for different people. You know, like that's an experience I never would have got anywhere else. And I absolutely loved it. My second highlight would be, it didn't end well in the end, but Iffy kind of touched on it earlier, the friendship that I had with Iffy and Kiva. We used to stay up all night together, and honestly, I felt like from night one we were sisters. Like, we'd known each other lifetimes before this, and laughing and talking about stupid stuff. It got a bit serious towards the end, which was unfortunate, but like the few weeks we had that were positive, I will always remember that friendship. So like, blessed, mate, blessed. The negative for me, in a different way, now I look at it in retrospect, would be the Kiva situation. Definitely at the time it was because, oh, I'm so madly in love with her and whatever. Now when I look back at it, I'm just a little bit embarrassed about how I dealt with the whole thing. I'm embarrassed about the pressure that I put on her. And also, in a selfish way, I kind of ruined my own experience as well by just focusing on this one thing. I was there. I should have just embraced it and enjoyed it instead of walking out and then realizing she wasn't coming. Okay, so yeah. And also, like, it was sad that, you know, mine and Iffy's friendship wasn't as great at the time I walked out, and it probably would have been better and stayed as amazing as it was if it wasn't for the rift that my feelings caused. So, you know, but obviously this is something I dealt with years ago. But yeah, it's that was hard for me. And also that made me realize a lot of things about myself, but it's been a positive thing since. So yeah.
And the final part of the show is, and it's what I love and the audience love, is to find out what you kind of done after the show and what you do now. So starting with Keely, what was kind of your life been like since Big Brother, and what do you do now?
Full and busy. So I came out of Big Brother, obviously broke my leg, so
Oh.
the mall as well. So there was that going on. But I went on a few holidays with Rachel and Laura.
Oh my God,
We went on holiday and had a few fun times. And then I moved to Dubai with my work. I work in travel and sales, so I worked in Dubai for three or 4 years. Came back, got married in Morocco. Rachel came to my wedding.
It was amazing.
And then,
Congratulations!
oh, thank you. And then moved to the south of France, and we just moved back 3 weeks ago just because of COVID and everything. So I've just been really busy. So that's me.
And Sunshine, what about yourself? What's life been like since leaving, and what do you do now?
So I went straight back to med school. So I was actually at med school before the season had kind of finished. So my life was very different because I was just in the library doing my final year. So it was obviously huge exams and everything. And I just became a doctor the year after. So I've been a doctor now for a decade. And that's been my life, really. I got married last year. So yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
I would love to imagine being in like a waiting room and then they say Dr. Sunshine's ready to see you now. You'd automatically be uplifted.
Yeah.
This is my nickname. So Big Brother was very special to me because I was at a point in my life where I could go on it, and it was my like last hurrah up before becoming a serious doctor. So I went in under my nickname so that I could separate those two lives, so that it didn't really happen. Although people recognised me in the hospital straight away. So yeah,
awesome.
It hasn't hindered me, hopefully.
And I was talking to you actually today, Iffy, on the phone, kind of like life after Big Brother and stuff. So for the audience, tell everyone what life's been like since and what you do now.
Oh, wow. So basically a couple of months after I fell pregnant with my first son, who's 9 today, Quincy.
Wow.
I've got 2 sons.
Happy birthday, Quincy.
Oh, thank you.
Happy
So yeah, so that kind of changed everything. And then also for me, so my name is Iffy Cuckoo on there, and I was a backing dancer before. So I realised actually when you are a backing dancer, you're kind of faceless. So trying to go back into the entertainment and be behind an artist didn't really work because it just didn't work. And I found that I didn't get shunned by the industry, but once you've been on TV and people know your name, then it's quite hard to get booked to be the person behind somebody else. So that was quite tough. So I decided to kind of go in a different direction. But then about 3 years after that, I set up a network of chartered accountants and moved from like hot pants to corporate grey suits and built a business. And I took the name Thomas because there was a couple of times when they would Google me, like when I went to meet the clients, and of my wig falling off and doing the Proud Mary dance, and they're like, "You want to grow our business?" I was like, yeah. So I changed my name and took my long-term partner's name, Thomas, and then since then I kind of completely reinvented myself. I'm an author. I've got my own online business. I do motivational speaking, and I'm a big activist in the autism community because my son's autistic. I learned literally 2014 that I'm autistic. Explains it. So I got diagnosed with Asperger's, and I think going in that house was a real. I didn't realise how hard it was for someone like me who likes certainty to go into a house like that. I came out and I'd lost quite a bit of weight because my heart was beating so fast all the time through anxiety that I didn't know I had. So my life's completely changed, but I love it. I've got 2 sons, and I think it was the best thing. Whenever people say to me, Big Brother, I say it was the best experience of my life because I've really got to meet all you incredible people. But it's a lot to put yourself out there, like it's like doing a bungee jump with no rope. So
well, I've got to say, I mean, I interviewed you 10 years ago when you came out of the show, and I've had you on social media since, and to see the work and the way that you've grown and some of the projects that you work on has been incredible. So it's really nice to hear that kind of life after the show for you, and yeah, thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
And Rachel, what about yourself? What's life been like since? And yeah, tell us what you do now.
I haven't done anything really exciting. Went straight back to work, and I used to get, "What are you doing here?" And I thought, it's reality TV. It's like, this is reality. This is my work. This is my job. I used to work for Ryanair, and then about 5 years ago, I kind of went part-time, went back to education, educated myself, and I've just qualified, hoping to start in September. So yeah, it just like a slow process really for me. But like if he was saying then with the name and stuff like that being on Google, I'm finding now that I don't know whether I have to change my name by default, because when searching for jobs, when applying for jobs, especially in teaching, if your name's on, if you've got like anything, even though I've done nothing bad, I've done absolutely nothing bad, but and the students that I teach, they weren't even born when, you know, they don't even know what Big Brother is. They know about Love Island and all that, so it's not a problem. But if anyone was to Google my surname, quite a not a common name, you can imagine if the kids got older, there's some pictures that are, you know, floating around, bikinis and stuff like that. So that's the only regret really, how it affects your life as you move on with it, because you're always going to be stuck in that person that you was in that bubble, even if you have come up to you now and they expect you to be what they've seen. It can be tough.
For Shabby, I'm really intrigued to know what you've kind of done since leaving the house, because I look on your Instagram and all I see is like incredible food. So I'm like, is she a chef? Is she a food blogger? So tell us what life's like for you since leaving the show and what you do now.
So the second I walked out the show, I went back to my squat, but I couldn't stay in the squat because people were like camping outside of it. I was very lucky. A woman who was a property developer sent some keys to the Big Brother production office, and I got to live in a flat like rent-free for a year that she gave to me because she didn't want me squatting. And I was partying hard and playing in my punk rock band. And then I reached a point, man, in like 2013, I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, where am I going? Who am I? I don't want to become 30 and be trying to do this thing that I don't know if I want anymore. So I started working as a London guide, and I absolutely loved it because it's showing off, but showing off with history, because I've fully embraced my geek side now. So as a London guide, since then I've gone on to become a European tour leader. So I have been guiding in 38 countries for the last 5 years. I specialize in Italy. I got to kick off my company's Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia tour last year. I do tourism product design as well. So I write itineraries in Italy and in the UK. Obviously, when you take American groups to Italy and the virus of whose name we shall not speak occurs, that obviously hasn't been the best. I ended up getting locked down in London because I happened to be back at that time. So I won't be working this summer tour guiding. So I decided to move to Margate and take on 2 restaurant jobs. But on the 2nd of September, I'm launching my very own tourism business. And of course, as of next year, I'll be back on the road with my other company as well. So my life is all about tourism. Like, I really found my purpose and where I'm meant to be. I love showing people the world, and particularly when it's their first time out of their country. Like, it is the best job in the whole wide world, and I'm so grateful.
And you've got the
You need to speak to Keely.
I know, I was just thinking that.
You need to speak, Shabby, you need to speak to Keely. Keely set up a business in tourism. You need to speak to her.
Hit me up on Facebook after this, babe.
Will do.
That's incredible. And John James, I mean, when we were speaking on Instagram and I knew that you had a song out, you know, no disrespect, I just kind of, before I listened to it, I thought, oh, this maybe won't be that good. I don't know why. And I listened to it, and it's saved on my playlist. And on Spotify, you get a playlist called On Repeat. And your song is 3rd on my playlist already. It is incredible.
I made the repeat playlist.
Honestly, it's incredible. And I didn't expect it. And it's just, so tell us, I want to know kind of about life after the house, but working in music and the new track that you've got out now, because I think it's brilliant. Someday, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it took a long time, to be honest. Like some of the other guys said, it is hard to shake that Big Brother sort of image, and then I went, and then I I followed up on Love Island as well, and and it's hard to like shake, and then you don't really realize what you're doing. You get these opportunities, you take them, and I wouldn't not like say Big Brother was the best experience of my life by a million miles, but I think when you're trying to become a music producer, when you're trying to take your DJing to the next level, and trying to play festivals and that sort of thing, like it is I'm saying goodbye to Ify. Yeah, it is.
You have to say it again.
It is hard, yeah. Because you want to be taken seriously, and exactly what you just said. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, who's this clown? He's just come off Love Island. He's just come off Big Brother, whatever. He's just some guy who was seeking fame or whatever, and now he's just come out with the track." So it's hard to get that. Like in any industry, it's hard to shake that. And like Rachel was saying, if you Google your name, some pictures come up of stuff that you probably don't want, or positive, negative, whatever. So, but then again, in saying that, you can use it as a platform, and you can use like your following, I guess, to move on to something if you choose to stay in that industry. So I've sort of stayed in the entertainment industry, I guess. So I think it has had positive and negative. So.
And with the track, because that's out now, what kind of reaction have you had to it? Because like I've said to you on Instagram, it's right up my street. And out of all the songs, I get sent songs to play on the radio shows. And it's probably my favourite track that I've heard this year in regards to just being catchy. And we're in the kind of the way we are now with the lockdown. A lot of songs that have been released have been quite downbeat. This is a real kind of make you want to go on holiday track, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually quite a pity, because a lot of people say that, and then obviously what we're all going through with COVID and stuff. You listen to that track, and you want to get out of your house, and in Australia no one can. So probably, I don't know if the timing was that great with it, but we've been working on it for some time, and my team has been really good, and the reaction has been really good. I know it's it was kind of like a UK sort of vibe, I guess, like sort of. That's what we were aiming for. That's what we were producing. That's the music that I'll continue to produce. I have a few more tracks coming out that I've been working on, that I've had in the bank for some time now, that will be sort of down that vibe. So but yeah, I do know that Joel Corey's doing quite well and stuff like that, and he's got similar sort of vibe with some of the tracks that he come out with, and I know that sort of vibe is doing well. But it's the music that I enjoy as well. I did spend some time producing music that I didn't really enjoy, and I think like Shabby like hit the nail on the head. Like it like whatever you do, if you enjoy your work and you enjoy what you do, then that's half your life set. And like I could tell the excitement. I didn't want to go after Shabby, because she sort of like nailed her little speech there about her work, and like how can you be more happy for someone than what they enjoy, like for their work, and yeah, that's a big part of your life.
I want to say thank you to everyone for taking part in this. It's actually been one of my favourites, because to see you all get on so well, but you support each other with the work that you're doing now. And it's just been great fun to hear about your experience, life after the show. Everyone's been so open and honest. And the lineup's completely different to what me and Keely thought, because I know that Steve was due on, but due to family reasons couldn't take part. JJ just completely, we don't know where JJ is. Nathan was due on, so it's a completely...
By the way, does everyone know that Nathan and Rachel, they're married, right, Lewis?
Yeah, with children.
Are they?
Nathan,
no way, I didn't know.
And have they had a baby as well?
Yeah, they got. I called him the other day, and they were camping with their children. I think he's got two children with her.
Wow.
Oh wow!
Yeah, guys. He moved to London when Rachel was living there. He moved in with me for quite a while, which was bizarre. He moved there to chase her, basically. Because they'd been seeing each other a little bit, and then he moved there, so I guess they could try and make a proper go of it. And then yeah, man, they end up getting married. They end up having these two beautiful children. They are such a good couple. Like this, I don't know much about other Big Brother couples, but if any other couples or anything like those two, good on Big Brother.
Nice.
Wow.
No, thank you so much for taking part, everyone.
No, thanks for
having
us.
No, thanks for inviting us.
Good to see you all.
It's
So nice.
So welcome to this special interview. We've got JJ on the show. You couldn't make the actual reunion, but we wanted to get you on. So thanks for agreeing to come on today.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good. It's good to see you.
So obviously, Big Brother, 10 years ago for you now. So going back to the beginning, what was it that made you actually want to take part in the show?
Do you know what? I'd always enjoyed the show. I'd always been a fan. I've watched it since it started, really. And it was just one of them things. Obviously, with it coming to an end, it was supposed to be the last one on Channel 4. And obviously, at that point, I was like, it'd be a great thing to do. And obviously, kind of going through the audition process and stuff like that was pretty cool. So yeah, I thought with it being the last one, I'd always loved the show. I just thought that it would be a great thing to do. And someone at my age at that time, like, so I was only 23. Looking back now, like, it feels like you think you're all fully grown up and stuff like that. But looking back now, 10 years back, I see that obviously, yeah, it was definitely, it was something I wanted to do at the time, and I'm really pleased that I put myself through the process, to be fair.
And what was your initial reaction when you seen the other housemates? What did you think at first? Because you had so many big characters in there with you.
Do you know what? Like, the weirdest thing is with our year is because obviously, because it was the final one, they had like 100 contestants or whatever that were there, and we were all there. So I kind of met everyone that I ended up in the house with at some point throughout this 3 days. We were all kind of like cross paths at some point. So it was strange, obviously, because obviously I went in halfway through. And when that happened, there was 3 of us that went in on that night. So obviously there was 6 of us there. So still, again, I didn't know whether I was going to get in or not. And obviously it came down to the housemates. But so it was good to kind of get chosen by them. And obviously when you come down the stairs, they're all waiting there. You feel like already like you're in a bit of a fishbowl, like at that point. But yeah, no, it was good fun.
And you had quite a good bromance with John James as well. You two just seemed to really hit it off. And I mean, the girls and everyone loved you on the show because you were like the hunks of that series. But you just got on really well. So what was it about John James that you just really liked?
I don't know, like, again, like before I even went in, me and John had like spent a little bit of time throughout the few days, and we just seemed to click. You know, when you're just like, you can tell someone is kind of on your wavelength, you've got similar interests. Obviously, although he'd come from like Australia, the other side of the world, we just seemed to hit it off even before like I kind of got in the house. And then once I was in there, because I think ultimately, I think it was his decision as to who he wanted in, and I think he picked me first. So I knew that at that point that we were definitely going to get on when I went in there. And yeah, it just kind of went from one thing to another. Obviously, when we went in, we had similar clothes and stuff like that. And so there's a few, I think there's a few pictures and a few shots from us like dressing the same and things like that. But we hit it off really well. We don't talk as much anymore, but every now and again we'll drop each other a message. So we're still in contact. He actually messaged me after you guys had done the interview and said that obviously it was sad I couldn't get on, but yeah, we keep in touch and that through Instagram and kind of messages and stuff like that every now and again.
You were always like a happy person in that house. You just enjoyed life, and that was nice to see. But did you ever find anything really difficult? Is there something that stands out to you as just, you know, you always remember as being a tough moment?
Do you know what? I didn't really have any tough moments. I think it was difficult again for us. Like, by the time that I'd got in, obviously it's halfway through, you're kind of getting towards, well, it was just over halfway through. I think I was only in there for about 5 weeks, and obviously everyone had been in there for a lot longer before then. A lot of people had gone. So I think, and it was almost like it was winding down, kind of gearing up for the final. So there wasn't really any moments where I kind of had any arguments with anyone. I think there was one time where Sam Pepper got on my nerves, but he got on everyone's nerves. Yeah. But there wasn't really anything that was that difficult for me while I was in there. I think I've always said, if I'd been in there from the start, because there was a lot of other bigger characters that were in right at the start that had gone by the time I'd got in. And I think maybe it might have been slightly different then, because I've got a bit of a fiery temper as well. So I wasn't put in that scenario as well. And we ate quite well. I wasn't hungry. We always done well in the challenges and kind of winning like the shopping budgets and stuff like that. So I think if the situations had been different, there might have been a different side of me maybe. But yeah, I was lucky that everything seemed to be all right.
And what stands out to you as kind of the funniest moment? Is there something that you always just think about that makes you laugh when you think about your time?
Do you know what? So the night that there was a storm coming, and it was coming over the top of the house, and we were stood in the garden, we were like, wow, it looked like this almighty storm was going to happen. Obviously, like, it was raining, torrential rain, and then all of a sudden it starts seeping through the roof of the house. But at this point, we're halfway through a challenge, and I'm dressed up in this big fat suit, like a boxer with boxing hands on and stuff like that. But it's dripping through the ceilings into the living room area, and there's a massive puddle. And one thing that I do remember is running over and trying to like skid through the puddle. But because I've got this big fat suit on, I've just gone and tipped, and my face is just in this puddle. And because I've got the fat suit on, I can't get up. So I'm like, all this water's coming down on me, and I'm trying to get up out of this. Out of this fat suit. But yeah, that was funny. That was a weird experience because we had to be evacuated from the house as well at that point. And we were like, what is going to happen? Is like, is that it? Is that the end of it? So that was a pretty strange time. But yeah, it made it a bit interesting, I guess.
And what were your feelings towards nomination and that process? Did it something that you found difficult, or did you actually enjoy the experience?
I didn't find it difficult, but again, it's not something that was really easy, because again, I didn't have anything against anyone at the times when I voted against them, really. And although you have to obviously come up with your reasons, I was kind of clutching at straws with most of them when I was nominating people. So yeah, the process was fine. Obviously, it's part and parcel of what you've got to do. But again, as I said, because of the point where I was in, I seemed to get on with most people in there. I think I picked Steve because he kept everyone up and he was snoring all the time, which it wasn't anything about their personalities or anyone that was kind of in there at the time. It was, I really did have to clutch at straws. But again, I said, if at the start, there's a lot more going on. There's a lot of people kind of working each other out. There's a lot of bigger characters. There's a lot, whereas everyone, by the time I got in there, they were kind of established people, but everyone kind of knew where they were. They'd been through the eviction process. They've survived evictions and stuff like that. So it was all a bit difficult. I was going through a different process that they had already been through. So yeah, the nominations part was pretty easy. But yeah, I guess to find a valid reason was slightly difficult.
Because obviously you had a really good popular reaction. So how does it feel when those doors open and you're greeted to the crowd reaction? Because that must be, I don't know what that feeling's like. So tell us how it felt for you.
It was pretty crazy, to be fair, because again, like obviously I'd made it to the final night, which I was absolutely buzzing about. And obviously there was 5 of us on the final, and I thought, I'm going to be first out here. Everyone else had been here a lot longer, a lot popular and stuff like that. I ended up going out, I think, 4th. And it weren't until I hadn't really thought about it until I got to the top of the stairs and you're waiting for the doors to open. You can think, what are they going to be like when they open the doors? And then obviously when you get cheers, you're absolutely buzzing. Yeah. And because it was the final as well, obviously the setup's kind of slightly different. You had all the housemates there as well. The other housemates kind of were all staring at you, kind of sat there. And obviously you got the big stage all set up where obviously Davina was interviewing us outside after we'd finished. So those few moments just before the doors open, you really you don't know, and you're just glad. Well, I was glad anyway when the doors open, you get cheers. I mean, I probably would have played off the booze as well if I got any. But yeah, you go through that couple of minutes of doubt as to what's going to happen.
So tell us about life after Big Brother. So what have you been up to and what do you do now? Apart from having, by the way, one of the nicest kitchens that we've seen on the reunion shows. But yeah, what's life been like for you?
Just a pretty normal life, really. I mean, obviously before, while I was on the show and that, I was kind of going through, I was boxing professionally. And I tried to continue that. It was something that didn't really work out. That was more difficult. Probably the most difficult thing that I went through was that not really working out, and kind of I got myself into a normal job. I worked at a gym in London for a few years, and I lived in London for about 4 or 5 years. But I'm originally from Peterborough, so I moved back to Peterborough probably about 5 years ago again now. So moved back to Peterborough. I work in an average job. I work as a manager in an insurance company. But yeah, life's good. I mean, I've got no kids. I've got missus and a new house and stuff like that. Just your average, normal life. But yeah.
I mean, watching the show, I always remember boxing being something that you loved and your passion always came forward. So obviously you mentioned there that it didn't work out in that respect for you, but do you still have some kind of involvement because you had so much passion?
Yeah, do you know what? I don't really, and it's difficult. That is something. I mean, I love my boxing still. I like to go whenever I get a chance. Me and my brother are massive boxing fans, so I'm always watching it. I did think about trying to get involved in it in some capacity, but I think, look, it's like anything in life, and I really put everything into it at the point that I did. But you have to give so much, and when it doesn't, when it didn't work out, it set me back a little bit, I guess, for a little while, and I kind of just. I turned my back on the sport for a little while. I didn't I wasn't watching boxing, wasn't really going or being involved. And I kind of took myself away, but now I just enjoy it as a fan. And I think, like I said, like anything, I could have given it a go. I could have got further than I did, but it takes up so much time and effort, consumes your whole life and everything. And at the end of the day, you're getting hit in the face to try and make money. So it's not the most glamorous of occupations. Neither's working in insurance either, believe me. But I'm not getting punched in the face every day.
Well, I mean, maybe down the line, because the thing is, you're a friendly person as well. And I remember you in Big Brother, you seem to be someone that used to motivate people if they were down. So maybe you could look at putting boxing, helping others that are just up and coming, and using your passion in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past my girlfriend. She's always kind of tried to convince me to kind of get involved with kids at a younger level, and that probably would be, if I was to go down any route, that would be where I'd want to go. I had a really good mentor when I first started boxing at around 13, 14. He was a massive impact on my life, and I think probably how I turned out as a person. Like, it brought out everything in me. It taught me like things like confidence, lots of stuff about kind of life as well. And I think I'd like to be there and like to be that sort of role model for younger people. Maybe further on down the line, it might be something that I look at.
Well, JJ, thank you so much for coming on. It's been amazing to hear about your experience and life after Big Brother. You're a top guy, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks a lot, man.
Awesome, thanks.
There we go. What a great reunion. So good to see people like Shabby. We had Keely, John James. We had so many, and I was so happy that they all came on the show. Don't forget to come back on Monday for the Big Brother 12 reunion. It's the first episode of our Channel 5 series. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed them. Please comment, like, and subscribe. And check out if you've missed any in the link below. We've got some amazing reunions that you might have missed, including Big Brother 7, where we had Susie. Big Brother 5, where we reunited Emma and Victor.